Hi, you're on Ben TV, on Quedia, where we explore all things queer, everything media. I'm Steve Pereira, and today I'm very pleased to have a compatriot of mine. It's very rare. But we have Rochelle De Silva, who is a fellow Goan Indian from India, and we're both kind of deformed Catholics, and that's what we're going to talk about. I told you I was going to start off with what's a good Catholic girl like you do in a place like this.
Hopefully poetry.
Fantastic. How did you get into poetry?
I've been writing since I was 6 years old, but I only started performing 2 years ago when I lost a very close friend of mine, and I wanted to tell his story, so I did it as part of a producing culture class, which is when they told me that I should try spoken word.
And what about spoken word appeal to you? As opposed to music or novels or any other kind of fiction?
Just poetry has always appealed to me. Standing on a stage performing terrifies me, which is why I do it. It keeps me pushing myself.
Because it's one thing to write poetry, which is a very isolating exercise. You know, we've got the notorious stories of poets writing their stories locked in ivory towers. But performance poetry is both completely interior and then completely exterior.
Yeah, and you don't know how people will react to it, so you take something that's so honest and so difficult sometimes, and you put it out there, and people react to it in such different ways that it's very rewarding. And
you've also got a chapbook. Is that with your poetry, or is that?
Yes, so it's full of some of my poems. It's called Breach Baby.
Breach Baby?
Yes.
Check it out, people.
And I'm working on a book at the moment, so.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
What's the book about?
It's got prose and poetry, so I went home last March and did a series of...
home meaning?
To Goa. So I went
to Goa still home? Yep.
Goa still home, it's always home.
Yep.
Yeah, so it should be a bit of prose and some poetry that complements it.
Have you read in Goa or in India?
I read in Bangalore.
Did you? How were you received?
Year. Really well, really well.
Fantastic. Do you want to tell us briefly what the two pieces we're going to hear from you?
Okay, the first one is sort of in response to the really brutal rapes that happened, and then it was a big deal internationally.
In India?
In India, yeah, in Delhi.
Yep.
And the second piece is just a lovey-dovey one-ish. All her life, she had been someone else's life. Someone else's hopes wrapped up in someone else's version of pretty. Held together by obligation. All her life she had seen but never spoken, had questions she'd never asked, told truths she didn't believe in. Head to toe she was someone else's disappointment, hate, envy, preconceived notion. When I met her, she had resolve written all over her face. It glistened in the sunlight, it hid beneath the dark circles under her eyes. She always had more plans than sleep, more worry than gain, more than anyone I had ever met before. She climbed trees, skimmed knees, buried trinkets and treasures, made maps of you are here, and this is where you want to be. Maps that changed as furiously as her plans did, you see. She'd always been someone else's life, someone else's problem, someone else's find. When they found her, she wasn't pretty. She had resolve marked furiously all over her body, clenched fist to mark her territory. She was the bravest woman I'd ever met. She's the decisions I make without regret. She's unapologetic. No, I will not let you. She's holding my hand with every fuck you. She's decisions I will make. Betrayals I will forgive, and darkness I will not run into. She is resolve. In the quiet of my soul, in the tip of my pen, in the many shades of woman that will someday make me whole. So this poem is about love. If I had known that the last time I held you or saw you or kissed you would have been the last time, I would have held you longer, closer, harder, pressed against my memory like the roots of a 200-year-old sycamore, trying to break free from the concrete pavements that line the streets of my mind. I would have remembered every color, every shape, every smile, every breath. See, I always wondered what they meant, those people who are scared to forget, always regretting what they had lost. I've never regretted a single moment shared with you, never held back and given you just enough. I've always known that someday you might walk away and not return. Someday, not a faraway thought, but a real, constant, everyday feeling. See, one must always be prepared because anything can happen to anyone and because something was kind enough to happen to us. And greed is but the cause of all evil, so I don't want all of you forever. I want everything that you will willingly give me, until someday you won't. From the first moment I stole your breath using your exhales to fuel mine, I remember the way your skin felt against the jagged edge of my elbow, the way my toes seek you out amidst blankets, the way I am spent in your presence, the way you make me glow, like some extraterrestrial life form with a secret that mere mortals cannot comprehend. The way you make me want to sit back and observe instead of participate until we decide to crawl inside each other's heads again and wear each other's skin. Sit still, barely touching, and call it comfortable or even just awesome. I remember stealing your thoughts without your consent, watching you cringe when my eyes relayed your musings. Barely imperceptible twitches that give you away, the not-so-subtle fluctuations of my cornea and my brow and my stupid expressive face that gives me away, but watching you cringe now. Because we do not have control over everything, and as much control as I've given you, I do not give you control over this. I do not let you decide what you can or cannot do to me and how much and for how long, because I am perfectly capable of carrying you. Like a woman walking through a desert with earthen pots stacked on her head, standing steady, staying strong, balancing pain and need and want and desire against her flimsy neck, bracing her spine for more. Because she knows the value of an earthen pot. And I am perfectly capable of carrying you with me into my tomorrow. Because whoever thought that you and I don't fit or fit well or look great together or aren't going to last, they're all wrong. Because you and I, we're not up for speculation. We're not the byproduct of someone else's conjecture, of someone else's approval or lack thereof. And this is the best idea that I have had in my 52-year-old existence. So if age and weed and dementia won't destroy us, what makes you think you can? Thank you.
That's been Rochelle De Silva on Quedia on Bench TV. This is the sort of programming we bring to you. Until next time, good night.